Okay. Hi, my name is Trish Rigdon. I was a single mother for 18 years. My profession was that of a bartender. My paychecks were that of full minimum wage, and that usually covered rent and child care, and that's all. I relied on tips to pay for the rest of life for me and my children. I tell you this because there is a terrible injustice being practiced in our country and has been since 1938. In most states, there is an enactment called the tip credit for employers, called reduced minimum wage for tipped workers for the employees. When the law was enacted in 1938, it required that employers pay only 50% of the federal minimum wage limit to tipped workers. Their tips were to make up the other 50% of their wage out of their own pocket. By the 1960s, the American Hotel and Motel Association gave estimates that this credit was saving them $1 million a day. In 1980, the wage was raised to 60% of the federal minimum, but yet during harder economic times and hunger running rampant through our own cities, the government allowed this tip credit to be reduced to a mere 30% of the federal wage being paid out to the employee. So only $2.13 an hour, and that wage still exists to this day. Robert W. Dittmer, in his article entitled Minimum Wage and Overtime Pay for Tipped Employees, breaks it down this way. Cash wages without the tip credit for a 35-hour week at $2.13 an hour grosses the employee $74.55 for the week. The tip credit for the employer is $5.12 an hour that they do not have to pay their employee for a 35-hour week is $179.20. If that employee makes $152 in tips that week, the employer receives $152 in tips that week. Because that is $152 they do not have to pay that employee. That employee, in turn, makes only $253.75 per week, $101.75 being that of the employer's responsibility. How many people can say that it is possible to raise children on $253.75 a week? The National Employment Labor Law Project, known as NELP, gives us these statistics about tipped employees. Women make up 62% of tipped workers, and 72% are waiters or waitresses. More than 2/3 of tipped employees are adults over 21, and 72% of these are waiters and waitresses. NELP also gives us a median wage for tipped workers of $8.23 per hour, or $17,118 annually. How can we raise our children on $8.23 an hour? If an employer were required to pay the full minimum wage, the median would raise to $13.37 an hour, a logically more livable wage for that of a single mother. I was lucky. I lived in a higher minimum wage state and received my full wage plus my tips. Tips are what I got as a bonus for outstanding service. If that service is unsatisfactory or unknowledgeable, it reflects the size of your tip. Other employees outside of the food and beverage industry do not calculate bonuses into their pay. A tip is a bonus for good work. It is a bonus for superior quality work, like in other situations, which most likely involved a boost for your company as well. How long would it take for the vice president of any given corporation to call bullshit if he were to have to pay back his bonus out of his paycheck? Tips are also what paid for dance costumes, sports fees, and equipment, cheerleading outfits, prom dresses, driver's ed. The list is endless when you're raising children. I was able to do this by myself, without food stamps, without the help of any government agency whatsoever. Why is it the right to take away from other mothers this ability to do these things for their children on their own? I would also like to pose another question here. If the industry was saving $1 million a day in the 1960s, how much are they saving now, and where is that money going instead of into a single mother's pocket? I know how much profit is made in this industry, and if it is not possible for an owner to pay their employees a full wage, they have no business being in this industry. They have no idea what they're doing. There are many more issues in today's economy that can be resolved with a simple $5.12 an hour. That means no more food stamps, no more emergency funding for utility shutoffs, the ability to pay for your own health insurance. The list goes on. And our money stimulates the economy. Our money stimulates the economy. It doesn't have to come from government bailouts. According to Ross Eisenberg, nationwide now there are more than 5 million employees working in occupations where tips are common. This represents a very large portion of our population, especially with the addition of the children involved. Change the lives of these children and vote to remove this Neanderthalic practice out of our offices. I would like to close with a quote from Jen Kern from her congressional briefing on restaurant workers' working conditions. She says, "My fellow panelists have made very clear the stark realities facing restaurant and other tipped workers, as well as the real threat these realities pose to public health and our economy if no action is taken. While these injustices suggest multiple policy recommendations, I would like to discuss one just today. Raising the minimum wage for tip employees is the right thing to do, the economically sound thing to do, and is long overdue." I like Jen Kern a lot. Thank you very much.